So welcome back. In this quantum chemistry, first we will try to see the rigid rotor. Okay. So what do you mean by rigid rotor? So rigid rotor is a rotating body having fixed bond length. Suppose one atom is there, another atom is there, and they are rotating about certain axis, and they are having the fixed bond length. Okay, fixed bond length. So that type of system we can simply call it as the rigid rotor. Okay. So in order to solve this rigid rotor or the hydrogen atom problem, we have to use the spherical coordinate systems. Okay, spherical coordinate system, that is we cannot use the regular variables, that is x, y and z. So in order to solve this rigid rotor or the hydrogen atom problem, we have to use the new type of variable, that is the spherical coordinates and not the Cartesian coordinates. And why we need to move our that explanation from Cartesian coordinate to spherical coordinates? Because suppose previously we have seen that for 1D box, 2D box or 3D box, so we have to consider the motion of particle along x, y and z axis. Okay, so we have to consider the motion of particle along three axes, that is suppose x, y and z axis. But for the rigid rotor or say suppose hydrogen atom problem, there are in total two particles. Okay, these are the two particle system, means for rigid rotor there are two atoms, and for the hydrogen atom problem there is a nucleus and electron is there. Okay, so in order to study this rigid rotor, we have to consider the two particle system. So for one particle we are getting three variables. Okay, for one particle we are getting three variables, and for two particles how many variables we can get? So in total we can get the six variables. Okay, and in order to solve these three variables, we have to use like various approximation, and we have to use that variable separation methods. So there are lots of variables, around six variables are there. So for each variable we have to obtain the separate wave functions. Okay, for each variable means that motion of particle along each axis, we have to obtain its solution. Okay, so this makes the whole that derivation process very complex. Okay, so in order to reduce that complexation in the derivation, instead of using that Cartesian coordinate, we have to move to the spherical coordinates. Okay, and so there are the quite derivations are there. So how we can substitute the value of x, how we can substitute the value of y, so we are not going to the details of that. We'll directly use that obtain results for these various variable, that is for x, y and z, and we can directly use the wave equation or the value of this grad. Okay, so previously we are having the value of grad, that is the Laplacian operator as a value of this Laplacian operator is double derivative form. Okay, double derivative with respect to x plus double derivative with respect to y, and last is the double derivative with respect to z. So for this, okay, we'll substitute certain directly obtain solution, and we'll try to see the how that results are obtained for the given system, that is the rigid rotor. Okay, so once we have tried to solve that, the things will get more clear. Okay, and this is also known to us that for rigid system, that actual mass is not that of the present atoms or the present species. Okay, so in order to consider the this rotating bodies, we will use the reduced mass. Okay, so reduced mass, we can directly use the formula of reduced mass as the m1 m2 upon m1 plus m2. Okay, so these are the two changes that we will use for the normal system and the our this rigid rotor or the hydrogen atom problem. So instead of using this Cartesian coordinate, we have to move towards the rotational coordinates or the spherical polar coordinates. And the for the rotational motion, instead of considering the mass of system, we will consider the reduced mass of the system. Okay, because in motion system, in the rotating motion, we cannot consider the total mass of a system, we have to consider the reduced mass of a system. Okay, so for the rotational motion, Cartesian coordinate system, that is x, y and z, is insufficient because we cannot obtain the solution of all the variables. Therefore, for the rotational motion, we can describe this motion by using the polar or the spherical polar coordinate system. So how we have changed that our Cartesian to the polar coordinate system? So in order to get that, we have simply like consider the one vector. Okay, position vector we have considered for the given particle. So suppose my particle is there at position P. Okay, so here my particle is there. Okay, so at position P there is a particle situated, and the particle is making a distance of r from the origin. So r is the distance. Okay, r is the distance variable. Then theta is the angle made by this projection. Okay, angle made by this projection with respect to, theta is the angle made with the projection with the positive direction of z axis. Okay, so just try to remember these things. R is your position coordinates, theta is the angle which is made with respect to positive direction of z axis, and phi is the, if we like make the mirror image of this in the xy plane, then that the angle which is made with the that x axis is the phi. Okay, the angle which is made with the x axis is nothing but the phi. So we have to like put the that. Okay, three variables are there, that is, one is r, which is the position variable or the uh, position of a particle from the origin. Theta is the angle with made with the positive direction of z axis, and phi is the angle which is made with the x axis. Okay, so if we use the simple trigonometric form, we can get the various values for the x, y and z. So for x we get the r sine theta cos phi value. Okay, r sine theta cos phi value. If we use the like for sine theta, we use what, opposite side upon hypotenuse. So here hypotenuse is the r. So when we solve that for uh, various values of x, y and z, we can get the direct values of x, y and z. Okay, so for z we can simply get as z is equals to r sine theta, x is equals to r sine theta cos phi, and y is equals to r sine theta sine phi. Okay, so these are the three variable changes from the Cartesian coordinates to the spherical polar coordinates. So this x, y, z are the Cartesian coordinate, whereas this r, theta and phi are the spherical coordinates or the polar coordinates. So r is the radial distance, theta is the zenith angle, sometimes it's called as zenith angle, and phi is the azimuthal angle. Okay, so Cartesian coordinates undergoes the usual transformation in the spherical coordinates, as like we have seen that. So x is equals to r sine theta cos phi, y is equals to r sine theta sine phi, and z is equals to r cos theta or r sine theta. Okay, any of the that values can be used. Now next important thing is the unit of these angles. Okay, various units of these angles means for x, y, z we know that that position can be having the values of 0 to that length of the box, means 0 to say suppose infinity is there, or minus infinity to plus infinity. So this range of these variables is depending upon the box, but for the three variables, that is r, theta and phi, we have to put the limits. So for r, which is again a position type of variable, so it has the limit of 0 to infinity. Okay, and it should not be like minus infinity to plus infinity. Why is it so? Because the r is nothing but the distance of that particle from the nucleus. Okay, distance of particle from that nucleus, and distance is always positive. Okay, distance is always positive, it cannot be negative. So distance is ranging from 0 to plus infinity. Next, theta is what? Theta is the angle made by the that position axis with respect to positive direction of z axis. Okay, So this projection or the position variable or the position vector angle with respect to z axis is considered as a theta. And what is the range of this theta? So theta can be ranging from 0 to pi, that is 0 degree to 180 degree. And for phi, which is nothing but the projection angle, so or the azimuthal angle, so projection angle can have the values of 0 to 2 pi. Okay, so in diagram it might be get quite clear, okay, easily. So for r we can have the any values, okay, plus 0 to infinity. Then next, for x or for theta, okay, for theta, what is the range for theta? Then the theta can be having the value of 0 to 180 degree or 0 to pi. Why is it so? Because theta can have the theta is actually what angle made with respect to positive direction of z axis, so it can have the values of 0 to pi. And for phi it can have the, like, it can be come here, or suppose in this coordinate if projection is made here, so we can say that this angle can be, so theta can have the various values ranging from 0 to 360 degree or simply 0 to 2 pi. Okay, 0 to 2 pi. So this is the range of variables and the range for the various variables. Okay, so by using this various transformation, that is for x, y and z, we can directly obtain the value of grad square, which is comes out to be around 1 upon r square dabba by dabba r into r square dabba by dabba r, okay, plus 1 upon r square sine theta into dabba by dabba theta into sine theta d theta plus 1 upon r square sine square theta into d2 upon d phi square. Okay, so once we have substitute that values for x, y and z and try to differentiate that equation with respect to various variables, we will get the this general form of the grad square or the uh, spherical polar coordinates equation. Okay, so you just try to remember this whole equation. Okay, so there are all three terms, that is with respect to r, with respect to theta, okay, and with respect to, so with respect to r, with respect to theta and with respect to phi. So we have differentiated the given a wave equation with respect to all the three spherical polar coordinates. So for this rigid rotor system, for this rigid rotor type of system, the nucleus and the our internuclear distance between the two particles or the rotating system is constant. Okay, for the rigid rotor, as the name is suggesting only, that system is rigid. Okay, it's not flexible, so the distance or the bond length is constant. So we can say that the first term in this above equation, because we are differentiating with respect to r, okay, and the differentiation with respect to any constant term is what? 0. So we can neglect the first term, so our equation will changes to grad square is equals to what? The first term will get neglected, so we have been left with only second term, that is 1 upon r square sine theta d dabba by dabba theta of sine theta d theta plus 1 upon r square sine square theta into d2 upon d phi square. Okay, so we have been left with only theta and phi terms. Okay, theta and phi terms. So we have to substitute this equation into our standard like Hamiltonian, okay, equation. So this Hamiltonian is what? Hamiltonian is nothing but the total energy of a system, which is given by this formula. Okay, or previously we have the standard formula, that is h psi is equals to E psi. Okay, h psi is equals to E psi. So total we can have the derivation as h cap is nothing but the total energy of a system, which is nothing but minus h square upon 8 pi square m into grad square. Okay, grad square. So this is the Schrodinger time independent equation, and within that independent equation we are having this Hamiltonian operator, which is the total energy of a system. Hamiltonian operator, which is nothing but the total energy of a system. So here we have substituted that value, So h cap is equals to minus h square 8 pi square mu. Okay, why this mu is there? Because we are considering the rotating system. Okay, so for rotating system we will consider the reduced mass into grad square. So value of grad square can be obtained from this equation. So we have just simply substituted that values in this Hamiltonian operator. Okay, Hamiltonian operator. So this Hamiltonian operator can be used for the obtaining the Schrodinger wave equation for this rigid rotor. And the what is the wave equation? That is h psi is equals to E psi. Okay, h psi is equals to E psi. So what is the h? So we have obtained the value of h as minus h square in upon 8 pi square nu into bracket 1 upon r square sine theta into dabba by dabba theta of sine theta d theta plus 1 upon r square sine square theta into d2 upon d phi square into this psi will remain as it is. Okay, is equals to E psi. This right hand term will remain as it is. So next we have just simply like divide this whole equation or this 1 upon, okay, multiply the whole equation by r square, or simply take the common out this r square term outside this bracket. So we'll get the r square here. Okay, and what is this mu into r square? Okay, mu into r square. So in rotational spectroscopy or some moment of inertia topic, we have come across this term. Okay, so this mu r square is nothing but the moment of inertia. Okay, moment of inertia, which is represented by the symbol I. Okay, so we have just simply substituted that moment of inertia term I in the above equation. So we'll get the equation as minus h upon 8 pi square I into bracket that remaining term. Okay, so in order to simplify this equation, we have just simply transferred this term on the right hand side. So overall we can get the equation as 1 upon sine theta dabba by dabba theta of sine theta d psi d theta plus 1 upon sine square d2 psi upon d phi square plus 8 pi square I upon h square into e into psi. Okay, so this is the famous equation for the rigid rotor. Okay, so here we can again see that there are two types of variable, that is one is the theta variable is there and another one variable is the phi variables. Okay, this phi variable is there. So how we can solve this type of equation? So we have to use the that famous method, that is variable separation method. So how will you use that method? We have to separate that variables and write the solution for each equation. Okay, so we'll try to that solve this equation in the next lecture. Okay.